even remember.
Brendan, what
Yeah.
gave you this idea?
Well, I have been talking to Julie's not able to make it due to family commitments, but I have been talking to all four of you in some capacity in different ways through different mediums. And I said, why the hell am I talking to all four of these great coaches and empowering females individually? Why don't I just have them all come to one place together so we can discuss? I thought it would be a much better use of all of our time to do it in one place instead of one at a time or individually. So
I like the format. I don't have to prepare a PowerPoint and try to squeeze in 2 hours into one.
That's
yeah,
right.
all you have to do is be yourself and listen to Jenny, not me.
All right.
Well, it is 4 o'clock here. We have 10 attendees at the moment. I'm hoping we'll get more as we keep rolling here. I just want to say happy Mother's Day to the 4 of you. Thank you for being here and agreeing to do this. I hope we can do this a few more times after. I'm going to hand off the baton to Jenny because she's a much better interviewer than I am. I'm just going to pipe in with my 2 cents, which I'm really good at. So thank you 3 for being here, and I will let
Thank you.
Jenny.
You're very welcome, and thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
Thank
organizing.
you.
Brendan.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right.
And Jenny, you're going to run the show here, and I'm going to be the helpful assistant.
So not much is different than how our household runs.
Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, that's why I'm in the garage, everyone.
Is that where you live?
Yes, this is my home. I sleep right there underneath that silver
Not
door.
bad.
Yeah. Sometimes she lets me.
All right. Good.
I'll shut up now.
Eugenia, I know really well now. Eugenia and I have been in contact for the last few months, but Erica, this is the first time you and I are meeting. And then, like I said, Pat, I know a lot about you, but we haven't spoken here. The way that I'm wanting to work this, and we talked about some of the questions we might ask, is I'll put questions out there and I'll do my best to maybe pick and choose who answers first so that we're not talking over one another, because that can
That's a
be
good idea.
challenging when you have a lot of people on the call. Okay, and of course, so I want everybody to be able to answer all of the questions too. The first thing I wanted to ask, because again, I only have somewhat of an introduction to Eugenia, I just want to give you all a platform to introduce yourself, to tell us, what do you do? What does your day-to-day look like? And then maybe a little bit about either your mission or your just general philosophy that motivates you to do what you do every day. Okay, and I wanted to start with Erica.
Okay. Well, I actually wrote things down, so don't mind
Awesome.
me if I read a little bit, because
Please.
I'm a precrastinator, not a procrastinator. So I'm like always overly prepared. So I am an in-home personal trainer, functional strength coach, very often a wellness and life coach and therapist as well. So, and I've had my business and that's just because that's what happens with personal training, as you guys would know if you have that. I've had my average length of clients is like about 8.5 years, I figured. So I've had long, and even ones that leave tend to come back. I just had someone come back wanting to come back after, the whole COVID. So I feel like right now it's shifting again, but I'm getting off track. So sorry. My mission / philosophy is I've tweaked it a bit to make, after I read this book.
Oh, great book. Where'd you get that? How do I get one?
I don't know.
Do you know the author?
I give you a plug. So is to inspire individuals to incorporate exercise and movement consistently and safely into their daily lives for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
So I like almost want people to not need me. That's kind of my mission. But of course I want to give them, functional training and, all the tools to do things safely. And that's pretty much it. I've been this is since 2007, but I've been in this industry in some way or another for 30 plus years. I taught aerobics in college. I met my husband in a gym in the late 80s. He's still my husband. He's
I got one of those.
yeah. And, but I was also about 15 years in advertising, sales, and marketing. And then when I had my third kid, I decided to follow my true passion and got recertified through ACSM, and then my journey began.
Wow.
And yeah, one more thing is what allowed me to do this so successfully, I think, was being in the community that I've been in for so many years. Like, I grew up here, I went to UMass Amherst. I wasn't born here, but since like late middle school. So my mom had a business in the town. So like, I'm pretty entrenched, and all my kids went to public school. So that really was kind of a good base to start.
And Erica, where are you at exactly?
I am in Brookline, Massachusetts.
Oh, Brookline. Okay, I'm familiar with Brookline.
Yeah.
And have you always trained out of your home, or is that just something
I go to people's home? Some people come to me, except they haven't since COVID, but I go to people's homes. But now I do online training.
Nice.
So I flipped it, pivoted, whatever the trendy word is. I'm just starting to transition back to see people, and I'm feeling like a flood of busyness coming because I'm getting people reaching back out. Oh, what's your schedule? I'd love you to come see me twice a week. And, so.
Right. Yeah, it's always interesting.
The challenge.
When people reach back out, it's almost like they forget that you work with other clients as well. It's like, okay, I'm ready for you again.
Right.
Let's do this exactly when I want to do it in the way that I want to do it. Eric, I thank you. And I love what you said about that the average time that somebody's with you, 8.5 years. That is something that I have never heard somebody actually say out loud, that they know that information.
I did the math. It was crazy.
Yeah. Wow. That's unique. I'm going to come back to that. Thank you for your introduction. Okay, Pat, I'm going to have you go next.
Okie dokie. I started out, I'm in Big Sky, Montana, by the way. It's snowing again. But anyway, I got started in PE back in 1976. So Springfield College, that's what launched everything. So went from that to coaching. Brendan heard this before, but PE, health, field hockey, volleyball, basketball, track and field, and gymnastics for 3 solid years. After that, I decided I was going to go back to school. So went back to school for master's exercise science, cardiac rehab, and then ended up in Ohio for 10 years working in executive health, corporate fitness, health promotion, injury risk reduction, all kinds of isokinetic strength standards for pre-employment screening. Did that for 10 years. Plus I was teaching group X and training staff, and you name it, I did it in those 10 years. And then I ran into this guy in the gym and married him. So
another one.
Foreign service, off we went overseas for about 18 years. So we spent most of the time in Asia, and Singapore, Beijing, Hong Kong, Virginia 2 years, back Beijing, Paris, Germany, Virginia. So every place I went, which unlike Erica, I never spent any more than 4 years in any place. So every place I went, I had to reinvent. And so I was personal training, continuing education, grassroots in the 90s in Beijing. The Asia, AF, it's still there. AFA, Asian, I don't even remember. Did a lot of presentations in Australia, started the Singapore Fitness Instructor Council. Oh my God, all of it. Plus I had 2 kids. And at that time I was working executive health at a hospital in Hong Kong. I was coaching track and field and basketball, and also the strength and conditioning coach for middle school, high school kids at all those posts. set up 2 performance training centers, continued lecturing, writing, you name it, did it. All,
I'm
the
now
whole-
gonna slither off the screen.
We'll leave now.
The only thing I've coached Frail to preschool. You can have the preschool. Oh my God.
Oh, I did a preschool once.
Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea, but I've never trained a professional athlete, someone who gets paid, that's their life. I've trained some D1ers, I have a couple myself, trained a lot of kids at the high school level, mainly basketball, soccer, track and field. Love the full gamut of it all, but right now my mission, change the way and pace we age. Done. That's it, bottom line.
Where does that come from?
Probably my father.
How so?
He was something else, let me tell you. World War II vet, immigrant, 2nd generation from Holland, woodworker, just blue collar all the way, auto body man for his life, built 3 houses. It was all seasons go with us. We had a pond in the backyard that he sprayed so we could skate. He would ice down the hills with the hose so we could go faster on the sled. He hung up the rope swing. He was with, you name it, we did it. It was all seasons go. And not to mention the physical labor we all did. There was no training, but there was also no sitting. Now, that did not, okay, after school, what are you doing? You're either working or you're playing a sport. You're not hanging around. Forget that. You know.
Did he live well into his old age?
He lived till 93, but now remember, World War II vets, lucky strikes.
Yeah.
2 packs a day. He did quit in his 40s because he was downhill skiing in Alta, Utah. He got pissed off because he couldn't breathe. So he chucked the lucky strikes off the chairlift and he quit. You know, so I mean, this is him. He went through 2 pacemakers, so he wore out the first one, had to get another one, and he was just never set foot in a gym. One of the strongest men I ever met in my life. But yeah, it was his outlook on life, and that's probably what I'm trying to do with people. This whole aging thing, it's all here. Brendan's heard me on about this. It's the mindset towards it. You know, I put something on LinkedIn today. You know, it's prep and prehab for a 100-year haul, not read and react for a long, steady 50-year downfall. Because they're keeping us alive.
That's right.
Stay alive. Yeah, well, what? Do what? Sitting in a chair? So, and women especially. If you don't strength train and power train, you're cooked. Because you're going to outlive the men, but you're going to be sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
So so anyway, that came from my dad. That's his chair back there. He's probably sitting there, go girl.
Love it. Thank you, Pat.
So anyway, but that now, because I've worked through all the populations and probably in the, I would say, last 20 years, really focused on the change the way and the pace at which we age.
Got it. All right. Love it. Okay. And last but certainly not least, Eugenia, you've got quite a story as well. I'm happy.
Yes. Hi, Jenny. How are
Tell
you?
us. I'm great.
Oh my goodness. Well, I've been in the field, like Pat, over 30 years. I started, it's pretty much the only field I've ever been in. The only other field or whatever I did for work was really in the restaurant business because that's what my family was in. And it's interesting because Pat talked about her father, and I think that, and that's what drives you, how you're brought up and your family and everything. My family, my parents from Italy, we were brought up on a, Mediterranean diet, not allowed soda, only water with dinner, things out of the garden, always moving. I lived next door to my cousins who were mostly all boys, so I was always outside and playing. So I was a big tomboy, whatever. So that's what I knew. And and that's what I did. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking about what really, what encouraged me or drove me to move past that and to continue. Is I had an uncle who was a quadriplegic, And we had houses next door to each other. My grandfather bought plots of land, so Italians like to stay next to each other for whatever reason. So we would always go up there. And he lived till he was 79 years old. And I would go over, you know, when I was young, even in high school, and he would say, Jenny, come over, help me do some therapy on me. And I would throw his legs around, listen to whatever he said. When his therapist was there, I would go over and kind of learn things. And then he had a bike, which was a motorized bike. And I would put him on the bike and he would sit on that thing for like 2 to 4 hours. He said, Jenny, this thing's saving my life. We would bring him, I'm in Long Island, New York. And we had a house on the water because of him. He got a house so all the relatives could go out there. And we would drag him down to the water and dump him in the water, and he would swim for 4 hours. Now, he couldn't move his leg. His hands were like this. He would go like this. He would tell me, spit in my mask so I can see. He was one of the toughest men I knew, and smart, would encourage me, you know, go to school, you know, go on to graduate school, always very supportive. His sister, who took care of him, stayed with him, would tell me, I'll never forget this. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. So I think that was the foundation of what I knew and how I grew up. And I think that's why it's really important to teach kids that as they're young, healthy eating habits, how to move, athletics. I mean, I know things are different now. You can't just throw your kids outside to play, but I think that was what started me. And then moving on to school, I did my undergrad in exercise science. I graduated from Central Connecticut State U, and then I went on to Adelphi where I got my master's. Early on, I started on Long Island. I worked in some cardiac rehab. I had a coach, my cross country coach at the time and track coach, who was an exercise physiologist. Honestly, I had no idea what that was. And she was a coach and she had 5 kids. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. So I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to go to school for. So that's what I continued to study, because that's actually what interested me. I loved the way the body moved. I loved the way it worked. So I continued on that path, and then went on after my undergrad to graduate, got my degree in exercise phys. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? I started, I worked in the city in Manhattan for 10 years, and that was a grind. I started I got a job call at the Sports Training Institute. And I think, Pat, I mentioned this to you, and you remember that place on East 49th Street. And it was a premier one-on-one facility. And the cool thing about that, I think, was way ahead of its time. You worked with a trainer for half an hour, but they also had what we called movement people. And they were 15-minute classes that would teach people how to move. We called them spider people. They also had, they were like doing flows back then or whatever. Yeah. And we also had a physical therapy department, which was really, really good. And back then, physical therapy was one-on-one. You know, you were with one client at a time. It's a little bit different, not in all places, but a lot of them. So I learned a lot from that, connected, spent a few years there. That's my husband and I met, and connected with a woman there who moved on to open her own place. It's called Physio Sports Center. She hired my husband and I to be the trainers there, to work as in between, getting people from physical therapy into fitness. So that's where I got interested in PT, and I worked in a few PT places. I worked in a medical gym it was a post-op athletes, getting them back to play. Did the grind in New York City for 10 years. Actually, I was in the city while I was going, I think when I was going for my master's. Moving on from there, I met my husband, and in between, I got a job at a place called the Great Neck Fitness Club, opened it from soup to nuts, from the bottom up, developed the training one-on-one, the aerobics program, even the swimming. I had a ton of experience. I did submax testing on every person who walked in that gym. It was crazy. So I had a ton of experience like that. I would do one-on-one, and my husband, meanwhile, was doing more corporate, because we had a lot of corporate clients in Manhattan, which was great. And the good thing about corporate guys, you make an appointment, you train them, and they're very regimented. And when they weren't with you, they were like, what do I do when I go away? Right. And we would give them their programs, their travel programs. And actually, that's how we developed this thing called the Prescript Kit. It was a binder of exercises that we could make copies of and give them. But you know what fun? We ended up selling that at a trade show for $6,000. I think I told Brendan this. Later on, it was like VH or something, and developed on online. I'm like, Tucker, are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
So anyway, So worked in that club, and then I left there, and my husband and I started Bradshaw Personal Fitness,
Okay.
which we still have now. So
Yeah.
it's over 30 years. Now, in between then and now, there's 5 kids and different areas of concentrating, whether it's sport performance or group fitness, general population. And a lot of that was driven by, I think, where I was in my life with my kids. And when you have kids, you have to reinvent yourself. In the city, it was one thing. I think I worked into the city up until I had 4 kids. And then the 4th one, I was like walking up, I remember this, I was walking up the subway stairs. I think I was 7, 8 months pregnant. I'm like, I'm done with this. I said, I am not going to the city anymore. So I stayed in Long Island. We stayed in the city until we had our first child, and it just got too expensive when we moved back to Long Island.
Yeah.
And along the way with my kids, my oldest daughter, I have Jenna, Nicholas Raffelli, Annalisa, and Anthony Tucker. And my oldest, during this time she was 3.5 years old, she got leukemia. Now, this is the only time, and I'm only telling the story because it pivoted where my career went.
Mhm.
I always kept my foot in the door of fitness, always was getting certifications and changing direction. But this is the only time in my life where I did not work because we could not. My husband couldn't work, I couldn't work, financial, the whole thing. And all you care about is your kid, and you want them to get better. So that was a really tough time in our life. I had a 2-year-old, 2.5-month-old, and my daughter was just diagnosed with cancer. So everything almost, fell apart. But luckily, we had a very good support system with our families, and kind of didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
Moving forward, we got through that period of like 5 years, and when she was well enough that I could work, I think it was like a year or 2 years, I said, okay, now what am I going to do?
Right.
I couldn't go full strength back. So I said, let me try group fitness. So I did all the certification. I think I did spin, Pilates, whatever, all that. And at this time I was able to, this allowed me to take my kids with me. A gym opened up right next to my house. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm going to get
Right.
a job there. So I made friends with somebody, started teaching classes. And that started my group fitness. That wasn't my passion, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I met some great women, great
Mhm.
community, moved on from there, continued with that, kind of phased out. And then I was looking for more work. Meanwhile, I was always doing one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then it started working. My kids were all involved in sports. So got into sport performance because I got 5 kids all involved in different sports. So their parents started saying,
Right.
oh, can you help my kid out? Can you help my kid out? So we started doing some more sport performance.
Yeah.
So small group, one-on-one. We still did, my husband was mainly working in the city doing the corporate. And then we branched out with that. And then along the way, and this is how I got into coaching. I mean, my first love is really track and field and whatever, because that's what I was a collegiate athlete in that, but that's my love. And my daughter, my oldest, Jenna, was at a high school, and I went over, and I had just had a cycling accident. I broke my elbow and pelvis or something, and I couldn't work for a short period of time. So I go over, I was picking her, I was going to get her from practice, and I look, and there's like 80 girls, and there's one guy. I'm like, what is going on here? So I actually volunteered to help out. And the AD, they're very particular who they let in. The AD is like, looked at me kind of cross-eyed, and I'm like, no, let me help. I have a good, background, blah, blah, blah. Well, within a year, I was the head coach, and 7 years later, still there. An incredible with Sacred Heart Academy. It's in Hempstead. The girls that I met there, and that just, it was such a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
I love coaching. I'm
so
going to say
hold
that's
on,
my
let me
passion.
recap this. So you started in more of the corporate space, and then
Yes.
you did group classes, and then you picked up sport coaching. And so now you have your family business. Is your family business, you run it out of your home, correct?
We run it out of our home. We're in Long
Okay.
Island, New York, correct. It's kind of a windy tale how we
Yeah.
got here. But I have
What's your training philosophy there?
to optimize sport performance, nutrition, and excellence in health and wellness.
Love it.
And because we have a varied clientele.
Yeah.
And so we just, I do sport performance, a lot of sport performance, especially in the summer with kids who are going off to college. I have
Yeah.
had a couple of like even football players who were played arena football. I have one girl right now who I'm working strength training who just qualified for the Olympic trials in the 800.
Wow, amazing.
And then a lot of high school, college kids. And
Yeah.
I coach at Holy Trinity High School, the boys track and field. So I really do love that. I do one-on-one. I do a lot of one-on-one.
Yeah. Well, it's
So-
interesting. So all of you have very different experience, but there's a common theme among all of you, and that's really just to get people to appreciate and understand the value of moving. Now, Eugenia, you talked about your uncle. Pat, you talked about your dad. Erica, I'm curious, what was the impetus for you that got you, and whether that was a person or an experience?
Well, both of my parents, very, very active. My dad always exercised every day, you know, like calisthenics type of exercise, but always stayed fit. My mom became a marathon runner, and she's an identical twin, and she and her sister, they started running in they were like late 30s, maybe early 40s, and like ran marathons, London, Boston, New York. And so I had that, you know, my parents split up, but, you know, I always saw my dad separately in California, and he was always fitness, and they just were very active, but I was born like loving moving. You know, I just never want to sit still. I was always roller skating, riding my bike, a tomboy-ish, same thing.
Yeah.
Just doing cartwheels and gymnastics. I love to dance. I just always loved moving my body.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right not to
Eating
move.
healthy.
Right. All right. So now I'm curious. Now you've all kind of explained that you went through this evolution of what your training looked like. And sometimes it was maybe out of necessity because that's just the job that you could get. And Pat, you kind of hinted at this too, that you just have to remake yourself. Now, why I find that interesting is because I talk to a lot of people and I hear people talk to Brendan, and I think a lot of younger coaches and those of us that have been in this just for a short little while, sometimes if you're not doing exactly what you think you should be doing, it feels like a waste of time, or people feel like, you know what, I'm not even going to go after this because it's not what I want. Or if they're doing something that isn't in line with exactly where they think they should be, they don't put in their full effort. So what I'm curious, I'm going off script here a little bit, but what I'm curious to hear from you is, A, did you ever feel like that? And then secondly, what benefits came out of you doing things that maybe were never in your plan? And let's try and keep this to like a minute or less so that we can get different questions in. So I'm going to have Pat go first.
I think the movement spectrum is huge. And anytime you can learn from another discipline, whether it's sport, dance, pre-K, frail, rehab, do it, because it still comes back to movement. So sure, I'm passionate and I love certain things, but movement is huge. So I just think it hurts people when they get pigeonholed into one thing. You cannot do that because people can't do that either. You got to look at the big picture, the whole movement sphere. What else can they do? So whether it's an offset of health education or health promotion, or it's a team sport versus an individual sport, if it's martial arts, dance, maybe it's Olympic lifting or powerlifting, but whatever you can learn.
Yeah.
And you may not become an expert at it, but boy, you will learn and you will appreciate and work with everyone. And I think people get pigeonholed.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to see camps. Can't stand camps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm yoga, Pilates, and everybody doesn't do yoga, Pilates, and
Right.
So you have to learn. If you're training and coaching small groups or singles, you have to get the big picture. And
That's right. Well,
that is life outside the gym.
Exactly. Well, and even if you don't end up doing anything with it, when you have someone that comes and maybe they practice that, you at least have something to talk about.
You appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Great answer. Thank you, Pat.
No,
Okay, Eugenia.
Yeah, I took advantage of every opportunity I could get.
Yeah, love it. Okay, Eugenia, so the two questions are, did you ever feel like you were doing something that wasn't on the plan? And then secondly, what benefits came out of doing it?
I'm going to say yes. Before everything was shut down, I was working at a big box club, Lifetime, and I was actually looking for group fitness just to supplement, because I was doing a lot of one-on-one and, you know, athletic stuff. I said, okay, I felt it's always good to be associated with an organization.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that job. And then they asked me, what about personal training? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I started doing personal training there, and then they offered me the job of nutritional program coordinator because I had a, you know, certification. I was like, okay. So over 3 years, I developed, you know, the nutrition program, and I had, you know, all the like 40 trainers working under me. Did I love it? That's not what I went in for. I don't love the corporate end of it, but I learned a lot, met some great people, but I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to be in corporate. I didn't want to be in that. And I agree with Pat, you don't want to be pigeonholed, because I felt going through my career and still going through, train everybody, like be able to train. I can train, you know, obviously if I can, I think someone else better, I'll send them out, or my son who does sport performance, football and that. But that allowed us to open more into nutrition also. So we do a lot of online nutrition coaching.
Yeah.
It took me in a different direction with that, even though that was like a little twist that I wasn't expecting. And with the shutdown, I realized I don't want to be in corporate. That's not what I love. I'm not. So train everyone.
Brendan, who was the inventor who they failed 1,000 times? Was it the light bulb, Edison?
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me.
Okay, Brendan, stay on mute.
Yes,
that
was Edison.
Eugenia, absolutely. I love it. So Pat was talking about just being exposed, but you're saying even though the nutrition thing wasn't necessarily what you wanted to do, you said, yes, it was an opportunity. You did it. At least gave you an understanding of, I'm capable of doing this. Maybe I don't want to do this, but at least now I know what I'm capable of and I know what I don't want.
But it opened up another avenue. I didn't want to do it in that setting.
Right.
Now I do it the way we want to do it. And it's nutrition coaching. And it's working really well. And I love it because we're able to work with people and help them any way it can help people, whether it's sport performance, you know, adult population, whatever. That's what drives me. I think that's what's my passion. That's what keeps me going. I love all aspects. And that's what I think drives me to learn more too. So.
Absolutely. Well, I think what's interesting is a lot of people want to do something for themselves. They say, well, yeah, I can get a job over here and do it, but I'm just going to start my own thing. And I always find that interesting because why not go somewhere that's already doing it, learn the ropes, get the experience on someone else's dime, on someone else's time, learn all the mistakes that you could make so that when you do it on your own, you've at least got a leg up. All right, Erica, your turn. Did you ever find yourself on a path you didn't intend to be? And then what are the benefits of exposing yourself to the unplanned?
Well, I was thinking, I had a little time to think while everyone else was answering. One was, I would say when I did group classes, I did it, but didn't like love it because I always felt like I wasn't giving enough attention to individual. If I could see someone doing bad form, you have to just keep going. And so I think that led me for a bit. I was a Lululemon ambassador and I had to like do little classes at the station. And then when I was teaching aerobics, I was in college and wasn't even certified really. It was just dancing around. But when I was doing that and I would do some other like small groups. The small groups were okay, but it was the classes that were just these planned classes. I realized I way prefer one-on-one. And I know it's not like the business model that makes, the most money, time, efficiency, blah, 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 but I love it. And I don't mind couples, that's fine too. Or, sometimes a mom and a daughter or a mom and their kids, like I don't mind that at all, but it's the group class. So I did that and doing it made me realize I don't want to pursue that. The other thing is I did the precision nutrition
That's a
certification.
good cert.
It's a great cert. And I tried to do it within my business and even like book separate times with a couple of clients trying to lose weight. And you and I talked about
Yeah.
it just didn't flow. So I sort of put it aside. Yet I learned a lot from that certification. I mean, that's not an easy thing to get through. It takes a long time. And I got a lot of tools out of it. The sheets are wonderful. All the questions that, you ask people about their habits. And so that was very helpful, but I haven't utilized it.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. But right now I just haven't, but it was helpful.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that, because there's a lot of, you should do this and you should do this and this is good. And that's all fine and well. But if you get there and it for some reason doesn't make sense to you, either you're not intrinsically motivated to do it, you can't figure out how to leverage it in your business in a way that's going to make you successful and that you're going to enjoy, then it doesn't matter what everyone thinks you should do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work, no matter how good it is. So the next question I have is, I find that, and this could be specific to me, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I find my personality, I really want to help people. When people come in and work with us, I want to go out of my way to help them figure out how to get it right, how to find what's going to motivate them to continue on to do what they want to do. And yet, as I'm sure all of you know, and the people on this call, inevitably you end up sometimes feeling like you're putting in way more than they are. So I'm curious, how do you personally manage your own energy, ensuring that you don't give so much that you leave yourself with nothing? Or when do you draw the line with people to not do more than they do? Or how do you establish what that line is? Am I being clear? Is anybody following where I'm going with this? And maybe that's those more challenging clients that they come in and there's that really strong motivation to begin with, and then they kind of slip off. What's your conversation look like with them? Let's start with Eugenia.
Initially, I find out about the person, what their lifestyle is like, and what they're willing to commit to. If you get someone who says, I want to run 3 miles a day, I explain to them, you're not going to be able to run 3 miles a day. You will probably, but you'll probably get hurt. So I think the first thing I do is definitely find out what their goals are, find out what they're willing to commit to, and give them a reasonable program that's going to allow them to live their lifestyle. Because I make them understand you can't do everything at once. You just can't. And I'm in my training, I'm conservative. I take the path of least resistance, because I'm really conscious of someone's health as athletes or the adult population. I don't want to hurt anybody on my watch, because that's going to affect their life or that's going to affect their athletic career. So I'm really conscious of that. So that's what I try to explain to them. And I have them say, for example, say if it's nutrition, I'm working with somebody. What's your life like? What are you eating now? If you need to go, they'll tell me, how often do you socialize? And I go over all that. I said, now you can do this, but if this is what your goal is, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So I give them a program that's going to adhere to their lifestyle, I think. Yeah. And I think
how invested do you feel?
Oh, very.
To these people? And that's where I'm going is, when they inevitably, if there's a slip, they don't keep with the program or something falls off, what do you do about that? How do you respond to that as a coach?
Well, I don't ever want to be negative. I always want to point out the positive, but then the reality of it, well, you're not doing this. That's great. You're training me once a week, but then what are you doing the other days?
Yeah. So you're okay with being direct. You are, I'll just say, this is what's not working. This is why it's not working.
Yeah. I always do. I don't like to yell just in my house, but I don't like to be confrontational. But yeah, I say, let's take a look at it. And I try to have a conversation, and I try to, and listen
Yeah.
what's going on. Because sometimes there's a story behind the story.
Always.
You know what I mean?
yes.
Where there's always a story behind the story. So that's what I try and listen to. And everybody's different. Every situation's different, and it depends. And I
Mhm.
hear what you're saying. You become invested, and you take it personal. And I think that's something I'm still learning to try and deal with, whether it's with a client or an athlete. You can't take it personal. I do, but I try not to.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you,
I don't
Pat?
want to feel,
I sort of start out a little different. I first of all, I ask, right off the bat, what do you want to be able to do? What do you like to do? Number one question. What do you want to be able to do? Well, I'm going to my son's wedding in 3 months. It's on the beach. I want to be able to, So that's the very first thing I start out with. And I don't even do an assessment or anything. I take them for coffee. We go for an hour and a half, and I buy them a coffee go through the history. But first question on the history, what do you like to do? What do you want to be able to do? What do you want to be able to do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years down the road? So training is going to get you there.
Mhm.
And then from there, it's a matter of doing, figuring out where they're at, assessments, all of that stuff. But to me, that's secondary. What do you want to be able to do? How long do you want to be able to do it? What are your dreams? I just had a client come back to me from 7 years ago. She looked me up. And I said, what's on your bucket list now? Where are we going? What are we doing? Yeah. So it's not about, oh yeah, lose 5 pounds, get size 6. No. That's all over here. Or what do you want to be able to do? And she's got a lot of fears. She's scared of a lot of stuff. She's rocking and rolling right now. So she's coming out here to hike at some point. Yeah. So really, that's what it's about. If an athlete comes in, they want to train so they get better on that field or on the court or whatever. It's the same thing with people. We get pigeonholed into that health thing and the weight thing, and we forget about the big picture.
Yeah.
I think.
So
I think Hike with Pat should be one of your services. I would totally sign up for a Hike with Pat. I have a feeling I wouldn't be able to keep up.
yeah, I don't know about
A
that.
grizzly bear and a mountain lion sighting.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
geez.
I'm
Oh,
out.
good.
That's
Pat,
where
let me
I
ask
jumped,
you a
that's where I
question.
jumped behind you, Pat, and I let
I
you
wanna-
handle
Oh yeah, my husband says, "Here, bear, take Pat."
it.
It's like Brendan with snakes.
Well, we don't really have them
Great
here.
snake.
We don't have snakes here. Yeah,
Perfect.
Pat,
I'm
all
moving
right.
to Montana.
just grizzly bears.
Pat, I'm curious.
Uh,
If someone were to ask me, what do you want to be doing 30 years from now? I'm not sure that I'd be able to answer that question.
No.
Now, how do you facilitate that answer for them?
Well, it's. I did a thing down with one of the other Brendans down in Idaho, Jen, and I had a group of people anywhere from 40, 50, 60 in there, I would say. And I asked them, what's the most important thing to you as you age? And every single one, my family. I said, well, what does that mean? Well, I want my family to be around and I care about, yeah, I know, but what does that mean? What do you want to be able to do with your family? Do you want to go camping, biking? Do you want to teach them your woodworking skills? I had a guy, he's a calf roper. He goes, yeah, I'm still at it. He's in his 50s and he's training and coaching, and it's his reason to get up in the morning. So
Yeah.
sometimes people give these kind of vague messages, but
Yeah.
when you really get down into it, you say, okay, well, if you want to be able to then you need
Right.
So it was, that was, yeah, sometimes you got to dig. And you're
Yeah.
right, when somebody's in their 30s, they're not thinking about 60. They're just getting through the day with their kids and their jobs and everything else.
Yeah.
And so that group is go, go, go. But once the kids start getting older, and with all this health, but you don't wait till you're 65 to turn it around.
Right.
That's late. The body will respond, but it's a hell of a lot harder.
Yeah.
So it's really, and especially the way we live today, if you don't make an effort to be physical, and physical is not just training's the means to be physical.
Yeah. Great.
So that's the thing. So, big picture looking, oh yeah, I want to travel. I'd like to hike Kilimanjaro. I'd like to run a marathon in wherever. Or, I just want to go on a vacation and go scuba diving. Fine. But, if you got 5 risk factors and you're on 5 meds and you're overweight and your joints hurt, not fun.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I think with the population that you work with, that question is perfect.
Right.
So appropriate for how to facilitate some sort of motivation in them
I
to
coach anybody here from 20 to 75 maybe.
Yeah.
But the people that live here,
Yeah.
they train so they can play hard.
That's right.
That's their downhill ski, board, hike, bike. I mean, and they know if they don't train, that,
Right. Right.
I think it depends on the demographic and the population too, because
Yeah. 100%.
in New York,
yeah.
it's different. And if you
Yeah.
talk to, say, around here, like if I'm working with a young mom, I just want to be able to pick up the laundry out of the dryer and pick up my kid.
Yeah.
It's different. I think you have
Yeah.
to, so.
Absolutely.
oh yeah, you have to adjust to your people.
Yeah.
People move here to play hard.
Yeah.
No, that's a good life.
A whole different
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Erica.
scenario.
Okay,
All right,
now you
Erica.
have to
And that's why I'm here.
say the question again.
Yes, I'm going to. Okay, Erica. So what I'm wondering is, you work with clients. Inevitably, there are clients who are really consistent and then they fall off. But we're always invested in our clients. What does your approach look like when you sense that somebody's getting out of that consistency? Are you somebody who's going to constantly reach out to them and poke them? Are you going to have a frank conversation? What does that look like?
I would say, well, I've changed, because I used to be, in the past, I would get way too invested, emotionally, and worrying, and, probably reaching out too much. And now I think I found a balance where I can gently push, try to get to the bottom of it, and give space and have faith that they'll come back and come around, because people's lives, get in the way of training a lot of times. And so I would say I deal with it with patience and faith in myself and my relationship with the client, and just knowing that I can only push so much, that they have to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I don't stress about it as much, and I know that I'm doing the best I can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You made a great point, Erica, in the beginning, that at some point you become a therapist.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes, not all.
100. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right,
know.
but that can make it very, very difficult from as their trainer, to not fall down that rabbit hole of becoming their therapist and becoming so invested in them. It's a very difficult thing to do, because I know the 3 of you care so much about the people, but also the profession.
Yeah.
So don't worry, you're not alone. I think I bring that up to let you know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I feel the same way much of the time.
Sometimes, Brendan, I think that we have to, in this field, just accept the fact that we want it more than they do, and we are more.
Yeah.
It's their time, and they just want to talk, and we just keep
Right.
them healthy as best we can. But they don't. It's not that's not their first priority to lift this much, to lose that way, whatever it is, or they just want that time for themselves. And sometimes, as a really busy mom or corporate guy, whatever, you just really, that's your saving grace in your life, is that hour to yourself with your trainer. That's a nice thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Erica, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I do a lot of regressions and progressions, depending how people feel, or if they've left for a bit and then come back. I'm always changing. I could change what I had planned to, you know, what I thought I was going to do to something completely different. And you just have to have the ability to do that, because you
Right.
have to give the client what they need, and
And
maybe
it's
it's need space.
And when we ask our clients, what I've realized is when we ask our clients, like, what do they want? They usually tell us the answer they think they want us
Yeah.
to hear, the
Yeah.
trainer, right? They
Right.
say, oh, well, I'm here so I can get stronger and lose weight. And they're like, because that's exactly what they think we want to hear, which is what we want to hear, right? Because that's exactly what I do. And when it comes down to it, they really just want someone to hang out with and check in on their health, and someone to hold them accountable and kind of be their therapist a little bit. Or, you know, I need an hour away for myself, and this is my sanctuary. I don't really care how much I can lift or how much weight I lose. I just want to move and enjoy my hour. So it can be very difficult to put away our own biases or distinguish between, like, okay, is this what they really want? Or are they just telling me this because that's what they think I want to hear because I'm their trainer?
Yeah.
So-
Well, what's interesting is the most consistent clients that I have are all the clients in the beginning, I said they're not going to last a month. And now they're clients that have been training. I have one girl who came in and she walked up and I said, there's no way she's going to enjoy this. And she's been coming a year, 4 days a week.
Wow.
Wow.
So what I found is as human beings, we always judge a book by its cover. And sometimes I think the mistake we make is allowing that to determine how much effort we decide to put into that person and what we give them. And then the person walks in, that's our quote unquote ideal client. And we think, I'm going to give them everything, all of my best. And that's the one that falls off. Well, let me lead into another question now, so we can get on a different topic. Is if you had to start over, okay, now knowing what it looks like now, or what you've learned over the last 30 plus years,
or even the last year with COVID.
Yeah, in the last year, that's right. What would you do anything differently if you started again? And then secondly, what advice would you just want to give younger folks in the field who are new, who are exploring, who are coming into this very polarized field of, like Pat, like you were saying, that it's all, we only do this or we only do this. So what advice do you have? And then would you do anything differently if you started over?
Yeah.
Read this book.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Okay.
Get-
We're gonna start with, I'm gonna start with Erica. We're gonna go Erica first.
Pleasure of nugget.
Okay, so first of all, I would say to a young person, well, personally me, if I could go back, because originally you had written advice to yourself if you were in the beginning, I would have gone to college instead of for English journalism. I would have done, exercise science or exercise physiology. I was terrified of the science part of it, and I just didn't have faith in myself, and so I went to something that I knew I was pretty good at, which was writing and reading and all journalism I was interested in. Anyway, that being said, it leads to, I would tell someone that you must do what you love to do, follow your passion. And then if they were a young coach coming in now, I'd say, get good with social media, which everyone young is anyway, technology, get CFSC certified, read this book, all these things. And that's what I would say. Like my middle son is getting CFSC level 1 certified, and he's very into jujitsu. Jenny, aren't you into jujitsu?
Yeah, guess who does it with me now?
Oh, Brent?
No. Guess who's her punching bag?
She tries all the moves. He does that with his girlfriend. So come here, let me put your head like this and do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I'll be in the kitchen making a sandwich or something, and she'll say, hey, let me try this move on you. And she tries to rip my arm off. Horrible.
Good for you, Jenny.
Yeah, so it's, I think you can, once you have like the functional training, you can combine it with, a lot of different things that have to do with movement.
Right. Well, I found a place for myself in my career that I do love what I'm doing, but I think there's a lot of confusion around when people hear do what you love. That's very different than only work when you find exactly the job that you want.
No, definitely not.
Because that's what I find most people doing is they're waiting to find what feels perfect, which is very different than
Nothing.
getting started toward doing what you love.
There's no
Great answer. Thank you. Okay, Pat, let's hear from you. The questions were, if you were going to start over, would you do anything different? The second question, what advice do you have?
My personal life, I wouldn't do anything different because every single step along the way, I learned and learned and learned and learned. And now, if I was a young coach starting out now, though, and had, just come out of college or whatever, they need to, number one, take the CFSC, but they need to get into a facility where you're mentoring, interning, hands-on, watching,
100%, yeah.
cueing, all of that. And I was blessed back in the 70s with a PE athletic director coach woman who was phenomenal. And I just didn't appreciate it at the time. She got me in line and I learned. But the other thing I would do, and I think this is really, especially for women, you need to coach a sport or be the strength and conditioning coach for a sport or both, because it will bring the buckets together. And that to me is huge. I see so much in the women in fitness. It's all fitness and then there's athletics. No. It's the same thing. If you want to work on reducing the risk for falls, you better be working agility, balance, coordination. So, I mean, that is just a super thing to coach a sport. And even if it's middle school lacrosse girls or, high school JV track, you're a strength and conditioning coach and the track coach. Oh my gosh, you will learn like you never learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody should dance.
Yes.
And maybe it's at a wedding after 2 or 3 beers, but dance.
I agree.
All right, Eugenia, your turn. Would you change anything? What advice do you have?
Would I change anything? No, because everything you go through, and I agree with Pat, said you learn something. I would tell younger people, embrace the schlep, because that's what you're going to do. Don't be afraid to work with anybody. And if you get someone you can't work with, reach out to somebody. Get a mentor. Mentors are great. That's why I always go out of my way and to help younger coaches to reach out to me. I always try and do that because I think that's helpful. You're going to work your butt off. You're going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to the city by 6 a.m. You're going to go from house to house. You're going to take whatever job you can get and be able to train anybody. Not to say that's what you're going to do, but I feel like when you have a wide base, like all of us do here, you're able to, when you're in the field longer and you get older, then you could say, okay, this is what I love to do. This is what I want to do.
Right.
But, in this field, I think it's hard. It's not easy to make money. We all know that. You really have to hustle. You have to hustle. And sometimes you're going to do things that you don't love. And some jobs you're going to take, you're going to volunteer or you're going to internship, and you're just going to do that in the beginning. But then as you gain more experience and more knowledge, and once again, I agree with them, Certified Functional Strength Coach, one of the best certs I've ever taken. FMS changed. I took that back in, I don't know, and I think I told you that was with Mike Boyle, Greg Cook, and Lee Burton were there. Hands-on, one of the best certs I've ever taken. My light bulb moment, I was like, wow. And that, turned on all different avenues. And I started following all those people, and it was amazing. So there's no substitute for hard work. Forget it. Work your butt off. Don't be lazy. Be the best. If you're sweeping the floor, be the best at it. Whatever you're doing, you got to be the best at it. You got to be happy. Keep your mood at home. When you're with a client, it's their time. It's not yours. It's about them. It's not about us. Mike Boyle said that, I think, but it's true. So I think you have to learn those things, especially when you're working with people one-on-one. They're paying you for this. This is, you know, this is their
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, love it.
So-
Great answer.
Jenny,
Yes, Brendan, tell
Oh,
us what would you do differently, Brendan?
no, I just wanted to add to Eugenia's point. I like to say that I have my hands in a lot of different cookie jars because I like a lot of different cookies. And when I have a lot of different cookie jars, that means I have a lot of different options.
That's
And I
true.
think what I'm hearing you all say is that when you take on a lot of different opportunities that might not be your passion or exactly what you want to do, you have more options in the long run.
Yeah.
And I like to use COVID as an example right now, especially for young trainers, because that's what they're currently going through. COVID was the wrong time to start looking for new clients.
Yeah.
You should have had the clients before COVID and then pivoted to, now COVID's a great time to cultivate a new skill, but it's the wrong time to be finding new clients. So it's a good time to cultivate a new skill, but you want to service the clients you already have just in a new way, which Erica alluded to. She pivoted to online, but she's had people for 8.5 years. And all of the clients that I had online during COVID were all clients that I had for 3 or more years. So I didn't gain any new clients, but I did gain new skills like webinars. So I've done, this is probably my 30th webinar, and I'm not a big podcast fan or any of that, but COVID forced me to get along comfortable and get used to doing webinars. So again, that's just an example of like what I'm hearing is everybody's got their hand in a lot of different cookie jars, which allows you a lot of different options as you move through your career.
Yeah. And it
secondly,
also
Jenny,
requires initiative. Go ahead, Brendan.
Yes.
Jenny, have you been seeing the Q&A and chat box?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that question next.
Can I add one thing
Sorry.
that I would
Yeah.
tell younger trainers to do? And one thing, I did Brendan's book club, which was fabulous. And I met Jason, I think. And I think Julie was there too in one of them.
Yeah.
But he took out a spreadsheet that blew my mind, how he keeps track of finances, because that's one area I said, first of all, I said, poor Jenny. Second of all, I was like, oh my God, I suck with money and finances. I looked at that, I was like, I just couldn't. So I would say the younger me, learn your finances, or I should have taken a course in that. I just like the science end of it. And the other thing I think I would have done, I would have tried to write more, because I'm trying to do that now and Jenny's helping me with that. Write and try and look for more speaking, you know, in front of whoever would listen. I think those are things. Yeah, more cookies. I think those are things that younger coaches should definitely, those skills they should work on. I think that's really important.
Well, and a lot of this, and I'm sure you all of these opportunities that you've had, or the random jobs that you've had, they've all come from initiative. You have to reach out to people and ask. Brendan and I moved to where we live now 2 years ago. And the first thing I did when we moved here, I looked up the high school volleyball coach and I called her and I said, can I come I don't need to get paid. Can I just come and help? So I meet people. And then last year when I started my communication skills thing, I called Chris Boyer at Perform Better. And I said, I want to speak for Perform Better. How do I make that happen? You have to reach out. People do not come to you for opportunities. I don't think I've ever been offered any opportunities. It's always been me pushing to ask. And that leads me into the question that was put in Q&A about being a woman, being in this field, and being successful either because of being a woman or in spite of or regardless. So what I'm going to ask is, have you had any experience that has made you think that either you've been successful or you've not had opportunities in the field because you're a woman, or do you have anything to say about being a woman in this field in general? And I'll leave it there. So Eugenia, I'm going to have you go first.
I'm going to say one of the most frightening times or insecure times I had as being a woman in this field is when I worked in the athletic training room, because I originally started as athletic training, and I had to tape the football players' ankles. Well, I was terrified, and they didn't want me to tape their ankles. And it was because I was a woman, or because I was, new in the athletic, whatever it was, but I felt really insecure. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I got to be really good at whatever I do, because regardless if I'm a woman in this field, and it was a male, even back then, even more so, male dominated field, you have to be self-assured. You have to know what you're doing. That's why knowledge is power. And there is no, like you were saying, there is no luck. It's all about knowing what you're doing, being nice to people. And that, as a woman, you have to even be better at, I think.
Yeah.
As
Well,
far
Eugenia,
as,
it reminds me of a story you told me a few weeks ago about you coach track,
Yeah.
and someone that maybe takes photos or is a parent maybe reached out to you and tried to offer you advice about how to coach your athlete differently.
oh, and I said, oh, okay, so that's really, you reminded me of that. That happens often because I coach boys. I coach the boys track, and I have some speed. I got some fast kids. And for some reason, people think that because I'm a woman and coaching boys, that maybe I need help or something, or he broke down. I told Jenny, I broke down all his form about force application. I said, yeah, thank you very much. No, I was like, if I was a man, I guarantee that wouldn't have happened. And that's happened a few times. I just smile and kind of walk away.
Mhm.
And I do what I say we do our talking on the track or in their performance. That's what sometimes I
Love
just
it.
smile and walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just say, be really good at what you're doing, be nice to people. And if you're a woman, try not to be, it is intimidating. It is intimidating, but I mean, you just have to deal with it and can't blame it on that, just move forward.
Absolutely. Erica, what do you think?
I haven't, because I haven't been a coach. I haven't been really involved in teams. Being a woman I don't think it's affected much. I have more women clients than male clients. But I have a couple of regular males, and, I feel very comfortable and confident. And maybe when I taught aerobics back in college, there were some guys in the class that were, making rude comments or whatever. That wasn't so fun, but I'm probably not a good one to ask that of.
Okay.
I'm all good.
I just feel blessed. If you know your stuff, I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I really, now, granted, looking at me, I'm not going to go in and spot a big power lifter. It's just not something I'm going to do. But I think maybe it's my upbringing and the people I've been around. No, I don't want any special treatment. If I don't know my stuff, I don't belong here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's
and I don't care, male, female. You got to know your stuff. You got to be able to teach it, cue it, coach it. And I just think, know your stuff. And you're gonna
I agree. Yeah. Well, I do think
parents can be a pain in the rear. Parents of athletes can be a pain.
Yeah.
So I got into it. I've gotten into it. Put up or shut up. What do you got?
Here's my clipboard. Here's my watch. Take over, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I got a job for you. You go over there and measure the triple jump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put up with that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of conversation now about being a woman in the field and giving more opportunity and whatnot. And I see that. But what I also see is, and I'm pushing the women that I work with, is put yourself out there and ask for opportunity. And again, like all of you are saying, if you know your stuff, you know your stuff. And that's what you should lead with. I feel like if you go into these things and you in your mind are thinking something about this being I'm a woman and maybe they're not going to hire me. You can't do that. You just got to go in and think, I know my stuff. Here's what I've got. I'm prepared. I'm professional. And it works. I mean, if you're the right fit, it's going to work. And if it's not, then screw them.
Right. You got that right.
Yeah. Good. All right. We had another question. Someone in the chat box was asking, she got out of fitness and went back, Teresa, she got out of fitness, went back to school for exercise science. She's graduating with a master's in athletic training. She wants to know, do you have any advice for someone like her who's been removed from the field for quite a while and is now just getting back into it. She's feeling scared that she has to train clients again and maybe is lacking some confidence because she's been away from it so long. So let's start with Pat.
Does she want to be an athletic trainer or does she want to be a coach? Because if she wants to be an athletic trainer, just go to the local high school, go to the local athletic, you know. But if she wants to be a personal trainer, one-on-one coach, start small with somebody you know.
Yeah.
You know, could be
it's like developing a program for somebody who's new to exercise. You want to create small wins. Give yourself something that you know you're going to be successful at, and then make it a little bit more challenging each time. Erica, do you have anything to say about that? If you've been away for so long and coming back, how do you gain confidence?
Probably just start with whatever you could get, you know, like whatever you can expose yourself to, and then take it. Because I was out of fitness. I was completely out. And then I just started, you know, at the dog park, someone said, "Oh, want to train me?" And, you know, I like, sure. And I would train anybody at first, you know, and I went to my kids' preschool and taught, you know, them a little fitness class, and I did community events. And I would just say, put yourself out there. I don't know much about being an athletic trainer or a coach at a sports team, high school, collegiate, whatever, but it could apply. I would go to the high school. I would go to, you know, just do some due diligence, network.
That's right.
Out.
Build on that. What I think people forget is when people come to you to work with you, you know more than them regardless, and they know that. And so even if you just share anything that's new to them you're like, oh my God, this is the best. The bar is so low to be able to just help somebody. It really is, though.
It is.
And I think when we restrict ourselves from working with people or taking initiative because we don't think we're good enough, we're just hiding, and we're waiting too long to help people when we could have started right now. Eugenia, what do you think?
Well, if she wants to get into coaching, I'd say volunteer. Does she know athletes? You know, go up to the coach and say, "Hey, listen, you need some help." If that's the area she wants to get into. If she wants to get into personal training, like Erica said, you know, offer, you know, even maybe start training one of your friends so you feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, that's a
good idea. Write them a program and get them going. You're like, oh wow, I can do this. From there, maybe another person will come. So it depends what area she wants to get into. You could volunteer and help somebody. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll have more confidence, and you'll move on from there. And don't turn anything down, you know?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. We're going to shift gears here a little bit. I'm curious. Is there anything going on in the field now or in the last year, 3 years that you shake your head at, that you don't like that it's going in that direction, that you disagree with the way people are interacting or how we're talking about what we're doing? Anything you disagree with, Erica?
Well, you know, if you are around any Mike Boyle people, it's the whole CrossFit thing.
He said the word.
Right. And I only know people. I've never done it, but I know people that have done it and gotten injured. And I think that there's so much interface fitness stuff like Peloton, and which I actually love Peloton myself. I get a lot out of it, but I don't know where that's going because it's like never ending. There's a mirror and there's a this. I'm not sure. You know, I don't know. That kind of is bothering me that there are so many things now. Boxing and like, you know, I know.
Do you think that that's different though than what it was when there were like all those
tiki's?
Yeah, like the Bowflex and all things. Like, does it feel similar to that, or does this feel different?
It does feel a little different because of COVID and how everything's become online. Yeah. And I don't think Peloton, although the treads are being recalled, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that's a whole social world, and it's helped a lot of people. But I think, I don't think they're all gonna last. And that's the same with those boutique trends.
Right.
But I also think what we do is not gonna go away, because there's always
Yes.
going to be a need for people to be with people. And
That's right.
The human connection.
I just
Yeah.
don't think so. It'll be interesting to see. I can't stand when I see commercials on TV for like these fix your low back and lean on this weird blown up pillow thing, and stuff like that drives me nuts. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
All right. What do you think, Pat?
With the COVID thing, I think it's always going to be a hybrid now, which is kind of a good thing.
yeah.
Because if, you train in a person and you religiously see them twice a week and they're getting the full functional training session, they get that twice a week. Well, the other days they can do Peloton at home, they can do whatever. I mean, if you can get 2 really good coach sessions a week live, whoosh, that's big. And then the other days you can do at home with whatever technology you want. So I think a hybrid is here to stay. Because let's face it, when Eugenia was talking about travel programs with paper and books and oh my God. Yeah, so I mean, this whole tech is good for travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything going on? Is there anything going on that you disagree with?
Pardon me?
Is there anything going on in the field that you disagree with or that you shake your head at?
Yeah, what women wear when they profess to be professionals. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right,
What,
Eugenia.
what are you servicing here? So I do. I've always had an issue with that. And that's not professional. It's just not, So that's something I've been preaching about for years, just from physification all the way through fitness coaching. I just think it's something, and I will give Mike Boyle credit. His guys wear shirts. They're not parading around with stuff hanging and cleavage and butt cracks and the whole works. So
Yeah.
that does get me. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to
It's not
agree with
that
Distracting.
doesn't belong in what we do. That just
Right.
does not belong in what we do.
Yeah.
Right. You're right, Eugenia. It is. That's what I've tend to say as well. It's like, it distracts from your message. It
It's
distracts
distracted.
from your profession. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Eugenia, what about you? Is there anything that the way things are working or the way you see people talking or about the field or approaching the way they do things that you disagree
There's
with?
one thing that, there's a few things, but one thing that if I'm looking at on the athletic side, I think what bothers me is it could be parents, it could be other coaches that think that kids need to train, like they leave their school team and then they need to train with another trainer and they need to do this on the weekend, then they need to be on 3 travel teams. Drives me insane. That gets my goat, because at the end of the day, inevitable, the kid gets hurt. So I have a problem with whether it's another coach or the parents, and they think, oh, they need more. And they think that what they're getting at school is not enough, So if you do have something to bring to the table, talk to the coach and find out. Because if that's me, I'm gonna say, oh, okay, what can you help them with? Let's work it out. Don't train the kid outside of school and, beat the heck out of him. And then he comes to whoever the coach is and he's, half dead. And they forget these kids go to school all day long. They're sitting at a desk. They're on a computer. They're probably not eating right. They're probably not getting enough sleep. What's going to happen to them? They're never going to reach their potential. Who's going to get hurt? The kid, the athlete.
Yeah.
So that bothers me a lot. And then I guess things that you see, or that anything to the extreme in our fitness field that the layperson sees standing on a Bosu ball upside, whatever it is, and thinks that I need to do that. It's crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, the way we train just makes so much sense, and people don't get it. They're looking for something sexy, and you're going to get hurt. It's just going to stop you. So do your rolling, do your mobility, do your warm up, do your strength training. that just works. That just
Yeah.
makes sense. The other stuff
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
that bothers
Well, and if they do get hurt, they'll find you.
me. Or my son, who's now a PT.
Yes, perfect.
I'm very hopeful that at some point there's some sort of licensure in fitness
Yes.
because
It's coming.
healthcare is never going to take us seriously when they see some of the shit that goes on the internet. It's just, someone posted a video the other day of somebody with, he had 30 kids in a gym with a PVC
Oh,
pipe
Oh, I saw
behind their
that.
back doing burpees with a PVC pipe
Oh,
behind their back.
Oh,
So they would
Ben
jump.
Bruno posted that.
Yeah,
He should have
and
been, he should have been
If
arrested. That's
anyone-
ridiculous.
If anyone in a serious profession saw that, would be like, fitness trainers are idiots. And that's what really
Yeah.
scares me or still annoys me, is that there's people out there like that are still dispensing what they think to be fitness or healthcare. To me, it's healthcare. So I'm very hopeful, going off of what you said, Eugenia, and Pat, I heard you agree that in the next 10 years, there's some sort of licensure for fitness trainers, like physical therapists, athletic trainers. I hope that's coming.
People can get hurt, seriously hurt. That's what they
Yeah.
don't understand. Seriously hurt,
Yeah.
So
Well, so
Jenny,
there's
can I ask a question?
yeah, please do.
So I got this question in an email beforehand because Jasmine couldn't make it, but she wanted to know, and because you're all mothers here, did you work while you were pregnant? And then was the transition between having a child and a family now, what was that like, especially as a trainer? That's a very physical profession. It's not like you're on phone calls. Well, COVID's a little different now, but is there anything you can share or speak to? Because I know the big thing about this call was that we have 4 females here that are all mothers, and that you've done this for as long as you have, being and having a family with 3, 4, 5, 2 kids. So yeah, 2 through 5. There's a lot of kids between the 4 of you. So
Okay, let's start with Pat.
Yeah, well, I was able to train and teach Group X and do that pretty much right up till I delivered. And I had very easy pregnancies. And then after the delivery, well, we were overseas at the time. So you had to wait 6 weeks to come back to the native country. So I came, I was a contractor, so I was teaching, writing, personal training, and doing continuing education courses. So, but I had control over my schedule. That's the biggest thing.
yes,
When the
yes.
kids come in,
Yeah.
it's all about the scheduling. And I wasn't going 40, 60 hours a week, but I would figure out where mornings I would do this and then that would come. And yeah, so no, I would say I never really left it, came back a little bit at a time, but it was all about the sleep. Gotta have the sleep. After 6 weeks, they start sleeping, which is kind of nice. But no, it was all about scheduling and being in control of my schedule, because I was always a contractor once I had the kids. I never had to report somewhere. It was on my time. So yeah, and I was fortunate. The kids were, I didn't have any problem pregnancies or anything like that. No, but that's why I think you keep your finger in it, even if it's writing an article once a month, you're still doing it. And then maybe you start up with a couple clients and then you teach 3 Group X classes a week. Yeah, so no, it's all about scheduling and, having control over your schedule.
Yeah. What do you think, Eugenia?
I only had 2 though, you had 5.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't easy. But I had to work and I wanted to work. Even if I didn't have to work, I don't think I would have chose not to, because I think I would have went crazy.
Yeah.
Just at home. I always kept my foot in the door somehow, like she said, and I made my schedule. That's why I kept reinventing myself. And it was all a bunch of different part-time jobs or one-on-one training or the group fitness, where it allowed me to work for and bring my kids or around their schedule because I'm a mom. I want to be a mom, but it doesn't mean I can't work.
Right.
You're juggling. You're juggling a lot of balls, and something's going to drop. Just expect it to, because it's going to. And you just have to. And they don't all sleep through the night after 6 weeks. Okay, so that's not true.
Then the teeth start coming. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something. I nursed my kids, all my kids, and when I was in the city and I had Jenna, I had a sitter, and she would bring her. I worked in a small like boutique one-on-one. It was, I don't know, 5 of us. My husband and I both worked there, and I lived on East 81st, and the place was on between 2nd and 3rd on East 80. It's like a block away. So she would bring her over so I could nurse her there and bring her back, or I kept, if you are nursing, keep frozen. I mean, you freeze your milk and you can keep it that way. So you can breastfeed your kids and work at the same time, but you do have to work around. I chose to work around their schedule, but keep your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
Right. Thank you, Erica.
So I did work through my pregnancies and put kids in daycare, but I wasn't in the fitness industry at that time. When my youngest Nick was a baby, that's when I decided to I had been certified, but done nothing with it. And I got recertified. So I kept, he came with me everywhere with my big ACSM book and, and I was doing contract work, but not in fitness at the time. And then, but I was, I the same as what everyone else has said, you just make the schedule fit when your kids, because I still had little kids. I mean, I had school age kids and a baby when I first started training, and you just work around it. And that, that's why I needed to work for myself. I couldn't deal with report.
Also, it can open new doors for you, because I did train a lot of moms during that time.
Oh, yeah. Tons of moms.
Because you can, with young kids, because you connect to them and you can start groups, and you say, oh, we can go to the park and, do a class there, and we can work around their schedule. So that's another thing that she can do. Yeah, connect with moms. Yeah.
I trained a couple of elementary school teachers, because they came to my house. So you just work with what you got.
That's right. That's the theme.
A lot of pre-postnatal people out there.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's see. Lessons. What do you think over the course of your career are the top 3 lessons that you've learned? With Erica.
Okay, so I wrote this one down.
That's a tough off the cuff one.
Yeah, the sort of general answers. Basically to have more faith in myself and my ability, that I decided to turn a passion into a business, and I did it. So, and know your own value. So that's one. Did you want 3?
If you have more, I'd love to hear them. But if not, I can move on.
Just really like very general life lessons for what I've learned.
Yeah, those are great. Let's hear them.
Follow your heart when you're figuring out how you want to earn a living, and work hard to get it, but it won't be that hard if it's something you love, because you love it. And also just be thankful every day for what you have in your life, and stop comparing yourself to others, because everyone's got their own stories and struggles.
That's right.
Those were, that's what I
Timeless.
Yeah.
All right, Eugenia, what about you?
The first one is going to be hard work. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to work hard, and nothing comes by luck. It comes through hard work. Always be nice to people, because you never know what's going on in their life. You never know the story behind the story. And that's happened numerous times. To me, you find out something, you go, oh, that's why. But always be nice to people and always talk to them. embrace the schlep. I mean, it's gonna be hard. It's not gonna be easy. So you just gotta, if that's what you love to do, it's gonna be okay. Talk to everybody, you know, let your passion drive you, because it's not gonna come tomorrow. It's gonna take some time. You got to start at the bottom and build your way up. It doesn't come overnight. It's a process, and always have a why. Always have a why. Why are you doing that? Have a why.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many lessons, but those are the kinds that come to the top of my head.
Well, and I think it's important because when you're in one of those positions where it kind of just feels like it's the same thing over and over, it feels like it's never going to end. But you've got to have the faith that at some point it'll crack. Something is going to happen, and the people who make opportunities for themselves are the ones who are willing to just hang on one day longer and one day longer and one day longer. And that's what
I think at this, even, I'm sorry, Jenny, to interrupt, this last year, or however long it's been, has even opened up so many new opportunities for myself and for our business. This last year, I took, and I'm sure so many people took advantage of the webinars. I mean, Brendan's book, like so many things. It was a whole new world. Learned, opened up our online business, our nutrition coaching. I mean, that was phenomenal. I, pushed myself to try and start writing, and I got my first article published. And that's because, I reached out to you. I was so afraid to do that, to try something new like that. I know Pat does all kinds of presenting and writing. I was like, oh, I got to do it. And now, I mean, I reached out to Ken Clark. He thanked me for the article, actually, in an email. I'm like, you crazy? I went to he had a clinic out in Pennsylvania, and I think I told you guys about it. And I found it online, and there was 8 athletes he was working with, and he allowed coaches. It was myself, my daughter Jenna, my son Rafael, and one other guy. After the clinic, he sat there and spoke with us for 45 minutes about like speed development. I was, oh my God, so don't be afraid, because people are really nice. A lot of people want to, like you guys, and so giving of your knowledge and your information. Just meeting everybody in this panel, it's going to open up all kinds of different avenues. So I think that's something that you can definitely live by and learn from. That's what I have, especially this last year.
I love that. And to say what you said simply, make connections with your peers.
Yeah.
Go out of your way to meet people, because you don't have to know anything about them. Just reach out and say, I really like your stuff. I like what you're posting. I'd like to be connected to you. It's those sorts of little tiny things that seem like nothing end up becoming this huge thread of opportunity. Pat, what about you? What are some lessons?
Well, on top of what these guys said, just never think you know it all. Keep learning and learning and learning and question and share. It's basically the same thing, Jenny, what you were saying. Yeah, I just feel share, and then everybody benefits. It's just, you can't go wrong. You really can't. The other thing might be, sometimes something comes across that is going to be a challenge, but you're going to learn. So if it's an opportunity that somebody throws, hey, Pat, would you? I'm about ready to kick myself in the rear end now with one that I just accepted. But anyway, it's like, okay, this is pushing me out of my comfort zone. I'm going to learn, but I'm going to share it with all these other people. And it's going to help them share with other people and be better coaches and trainers and, all that type of thing. So you don't want to accept every single thing that comes your way, because that might not be the best thing to do time-wise. But when something pushes you out and you're going to have to do extra work, it's out of your comfort zone. It's partially in the zone, but it's still out there. So yeah, I think accept these things, because it's the only way you're going to grow. So it's that allows you to keep learning, but then it allows you to keep sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I
think that's a good point. That's a great point.
Yeah, it is so much of getting over any fear you have of taking the initiative to do something is really about just reminding yourself that you have something to offer, and it's going to help, even if it helps one person.
Yeah.
It is amazing. That is such a beautiful opportunity to just help a single person.
Mhm.
Brennan, would you have other questions that you wanted to add?
I have no other questions. Meeting adjourned. No, I'm just no, I had so many things I wanted to say and add, but you all said it all, so I didn't have to pipe in too much.
Yeah, well, I would think the theme of all of this, and obviously you all had different answers and you've had different experiences, but it kind of comes back to what Eugenia was saying, is that a lot of things that go on just they don't end up going as planned.
Oh,
And the people that find success and find self-confidence and security are the people that are willing to just to roll with the punches and say, okay, this is my life right now. I'm going to just be the best that I can be right now. And when I have the opportunity to guide it in a different direction, I'm going to have that sense of agency and take some control back of that. And to focus on that we are in a service industry and we should have a service mindset. What we're doing is helping people facilitate growth in themselves and find a piece of themselves that they've lost or that they're looking for. And it's not about us. When we get in that imposter syndrome, that's when we're focusing too much on us. We're focusing on how we look and how people perceive us. And it's no longer about just, I know something, let me share it. And if you don't like the way I share it, that's fine. I might not be your cup of tea, but I got to share it anyway. I know we had a lot of other questions and conversation goes on. I'm curious, did any of you, there were other questions. Did you want to answer any of the other questions that I had on there that you really?
You have people that you need to answer, Jenny?
I'm asking Pat, was there anything on my list of questions? I didn't ask all of them, but
I was just asking you, are there people that you have to answer before you get off?
Oh.
There is one question, and this is a question for all of you, but Pat, I'm interested to hear your thoughts because it's a question for if you have a client who is physically fit, but they want to do the Olympic lift, but they're an older client. Where do we draw the line? So they come in and they say, Pat, I know I'm 60 years old, but my goal is to do the clean and the snatch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it we need to have a discussion about this and see if that's something that makes sense? Or are you putting all your eggs in that basket because that's what they want to do?
My first question would be, I'm going to assume that I've been training them for a while.
Okay, all right.
And they've really done well, progressed. They've got the basics. They're rock solid. They have their rocks. They're even doing cleans and presses, swings. They're good. They're solid.
Yeah.
And I would first say, okay, why do you want to do that? What is your impetus for wanting to do those things? Well, my husband does it and I think I should give it a shot. Okay. He keeps telling me to do it. Okay. Then I would say, all right, is it really going to help you do something else better in your life? Is it really going to help you? Is it going to help your bone more? Is it going to help your muscle more? Is it going to help your movement more? Well, I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. This is the answer you might get. And then if they're like still want to do it, because I would say, well, you know what? I've brought you as far as I can. And if that's something you really want to do, then I am going to recommend that you work with so-and-so who truly is a power lifter, or O-lifter, P-lifter, whatever.
Yeah.
But I would want to know a lot more about that person. And I should, if they've had issues with osteoporosis. You can't be taking those kind of crazy risks. But some people will go elsewhere. But I personally, 60-year-old female, I would really wonder why she wants to do it. If she wants to compete, but if I'm not the coach.
Yeah. So you're not afraid to punt the ball.
Right. No. Plus, that's not my expertise. That's just not. And I respect it. And I've met a lot of the guys and gals over the years. I think it's amazing. But it's a sport. And it is a true technical skill. And if you've got issues anywhere up and down the chain, it's going to show up there.
Teresa said, thank you all for this webinar. I've learned so much. Very motivating.
Yeah.
So see, we helped one person. It was worth it.
Yay.
Well, that's good.
I do want
Jenny says,
to
thank you all.
open up the
Love hearing your
opportunity though.
perspective.
Did anybody, like I said, we had questions. Did any of you want to say anything else that we didn't cover? This is your opportunity. I want to make sure that you have the stage to talk about something that maybe we didn't cover.
I just appreciate you guys doing this. It's such a pleasure to be with these ladies. So, really,
Yeah.
Great.
Debbie, I think I saw you once on a screen, but your head was like this big. So
I'm much bigger in real life.
yeah, you picked a winner over here. He's a good man.
I'm very lucky.
Oh, thank you both.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys because
As long as all your questions, I don't know about Erica and I've kind of.
Tina, I think, wanted to say something.
no, I want to thank you guys, you and Brendan and Jenny, because, you know, as a more mature woman in the field, you know, we have a lot of experience, and sometimes you don't want to feel as though there's no place for us. Not that I feel that way, but sometimes women can feel that way, especially older women, because, you know, let's be real, it is a young, you know, people look at the guys who are ripped and this and that, and a lot has to do with appearances. But people need to realize, because of all of our experience and what we do and how long we've been in it and all the different types of people that we've all worked with, we have a lot to give back to people. And we have a lot of worth. And sometimes, I mean, I feel that way. I was like, oh, you know, I'm too old for this or whatever. But this made me feel really good to be with you women and to let people know that you can have a career, an extended career, like all of us have for, you know, 30 years or whatever, raise your kids, have 5 kids. We have a house, they all went to school. So you can do it. It's not easy, and the more you learn, and if you have passion, because I still have a lot left and I want to do more, it just makes me feel good and it makes me want to help more people.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's no reason to stop.
No.
That answers your question, Jenny, of what's allowed you to do this for so long.
Yes,
Really.
right.
Those are all the answers. And what Brendan said, if you can help one person, what gets me, it's like why people love golf, because they want that perfect golf shot. Like if I get any positive feedback from any client, I'm like, oh, I love what I do.
Right? Yeah, I agree with you.
It keeps you going. So, and then learning. Anytime I feel stale, just go learn something new. Go take a course, go do a webinar, and that gets me right back on it. And
That's great advice.
So,
that's why this last year was so valuable, I think, because the amount of webinars that I watched and listened to, podcasts, you know, like I'm gonna say it again, Brendan's book club, it was like a whole education in a year. It was going for another degree. And I said to my daughter, Jenna, who's, you know, works with our business, said, this is like, people don't understand the amount of information. I hope they're in our field, they have to be taking advantage of this. This is crazy, the amount of free information and education that's out there at this time. So that was also inspiring and kind of just pushed us to go further and learn more. So that's something that inspired us.
The other
I have to
thing,
go ahead,
just
Pat.
for everybody, obviously I'm in this other end here, but the whole perception of aging and third stage of life is completely upside down now. People do not retire. That's over.
That's right.
It's rewire and change careers, vocations. It's completely different than it ever was before. So people retire at 60, they got another 30 to 40 years on this planet. What
Yeah.
the heck are you gonna be doing? So, yeah, and people will tell you, because I've had all, the other end clients too, go, well, you can only play so much golf and skiing. That I gotta have a reason to get up in the morning. And that is what keeps people going. Even despite ill health or despite a lousy lifestyle, it's their purpose that keeps them going. And that's what we help people do. We help them redefine and repurpose. So that it's completely different. This retirement thing is over.
If you
No.
feel good, you want to get up in the morning, you have things to do.
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
You do.
Matt, mic drop. End it there.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I have to say, I have so much respect for all of you. Just to hear, thinking about just the little bit of effort that I've put into my career and thinking that you all have done that consistently for the time that you have. So much respect. And
Thank you.
I look forward to hopefully meeting all of you in person. Now that I know all of you, but thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Thank you, Jenny. You're
Thank
very-
you, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny.
very good.
Putting it all
Thank you,
together.
Brendan.
Yeah.
Girls trip.
Yeah.
Brendan wants to hike.
Yeah. You guys can hang out in the house. I'll go hiking.
Perfect.
All
Thanks,
right,
ladies.
guys. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks a million,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Brendan.
Bye.
Thank
Keep
you.
on,
Thank
keep
you.
doing your thing.
Thanks. You
All right.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.